Hello, welcome to the Let's Talk Kids Health Facebook Live Show, episode 46. I'm Dr. Narissa Bauer, your host. I'm a behavioral pediatrician and CEO of Let's Talk Kids Health. As you know, the concept of this show is to share information about behavioral health, parenting, and family wellness. Each week, I plan to bring you topics and guests to help me advance this mission so that we can always all talk together. So, this episode was pre recorded because of a previous family engagement, but we will be monitoring the comments in and the chat. So if you do have any questions, we'll try our best to get back to you as soon as we can. And the replay is available immediately when the broadcast ends. So if you're watching this and you can think of someone who could benefit, please share because sharing is caring. And if you don't want to miss future episodes or maybe check out my past ones, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Narissa Bauer MD, and follow my blog Facebook page, Let's Talk Kids Health. All right. So now on to this week's guest. Kim Feeney is a licensed independent social worker and a registered play therapist supervisor. She spent the last 10 plus years helping children and families lead healthier emotional lives. She owns a private practice in Davenport, Iowa. Welcome to the show, Kim.
Hello, and thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, and I'm so sorry. I said Kim Feeney. It's Kim Feeney. I am so sorry.
No
Want to make
problem.
sure. So thank you for that. And also, I'm just really excited. First of all, can I just ask, like, how did you fall into doing this work? Like, did you
Yeah,
always know that you wanted to do this?
it was kind of a journey. Both my parents were in the helping professionals.
Uh-huh.
My mom was a special ed teacher for over 40 years, and my dad worked with individuals with mentally and physically handicaps and challenges. So I always knew I wanted to help people. I
Uh-huh.
just wasn't sure how. So I went through like a doctor, and then I realized I couldn't handle the blood and the guts and everything. And then I had my own personal mental health challenges as a tween teenager. And my therapist was such a lifeline, so vitally important to how I healed that's when I made the connection that that's what I wanted to do.
Hmm.
And then I always have had a connection with kids. They've always been important to me. So that just, again, kind of seemed like a natural fit.
Oh my goodness, what a story. Thank you for sharing that. And I think as a pediatrician, a behavioral pediatrician, I think you just sometimes know like those kids are just so special and you just want to play with them. You want to, help them thrive and there's nothing more than seeing that smile on their faces and knowing you're making a lifelong impact. So, this is wonderful. And I was just saying before we went live, the picture that Kim sent us for her headshot, oh, just lovely. I mean, that just sort of speaks volumes to kind of your personality too. So, yeah. So let's just jump in because I think, as I said to you before, I've not had a play therapist come on yet. And I think this is a really important topic to sort of just debunk because I think there are some misconceptions about what it is, what it isn't. So help us understand this. And we'll start with the first question. What is play therapy?
Absolutely. Play therapy is the developmentally appropriate way to address kids with mental health challenges, with life challenges, anything an adult would go to therapy for.
Uh-huh.
But play is so important for kiddos because developmentally their brain hasn't developed the cognitive skills to verbally process
Mm-hmm.
and verbally, communicate their emotions to us. So we use what naturally kids do, and that's play. So in my playroom, I have dollhouses and puppets and sand and art and games and books and Legos and so many things that the kid can choose what speaks to them to use how they want to speak to me about their emotions and what's going on.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I can just imagine your clinic room and how exciting it is to just be like, "Oh my gosh," and to have so many options to choose from. That's so fun.
It can be a little overwhelming for kids at first,
I'm
but
sure.
once you get used to it, and then it's also just about developing that relationship,
Mm.
holding that space for kids that they can feel free to discuss some heavy stuff.
Yeah.
It's hard for any of us at any age.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I guess that's a good transition to the next question, like what specific issues can play therapy help with?
Yeah, like I mentioned before, any traditional mental health issues, your ADHD, anxiety, depression, any of those like more formal diagnoses,
Hmm.
but also like life stressors, moving to a new school, divorce is a big one, any sort of grief and loss, just those transitions that we sometimes struggle with in our lives and we can't really put words to, but we're having an emotional reaction when our behaviors are up or down. I kind of look at it as kind of twofold. You have those kids that really act out when these transitions happen, and they're yelling, they're sometimes aggressive, and you can visually see those acting out behaviors. And then you have the kids that withdraw in, the kids
Hmm.
that are going to be quieter or shyer and kind of collapse or isolate. So those two behavior extremes are what I see in my playroom.
Yeah. And I guess walking us back through, you started off by explaining that, play is kind of the medium with which kids, kind of learn and it's developmentally appropriate. Is there a certain age range with which play therapy is the first line or the more appropriate line? And is it something that even older kids can do?
play therapy play therapy can be used across the lifespan, even teens and adults. I don't really go up to adults, but I definitely use it with some teens that I work with.
Uh-huh.
And I have kids, unfortunately, as young as like 2 and 3.
Mm.
I'll do like parent child interaction stuff. Not parent child interaction therapy. I'm not certified in that, but I'll have the parent come in the playroom and we'll do like attachment work or bonding work, or playful games, even just do simple things like peekaboo or ring around the rosy. So the parent and the kid can just bond and have that emotional space.
Yeah. Since you brought it up, can you define what the difference is or what you mean by bonding and attachment?
Attachment is just how we form our social relationships with other people, and
Hmm.
we want that to be secure in the early years of life. Within the first 3 years of life is really important. So having that secure base and that secure attachment with a primary caregiver is so important in those early years.
Yeah. Yeah, so thank you for that. And I mean, I think I appreciate too the fact that you had said you can really do this through any age. I think just sort of helping get past the uncomfortableness of discussing what you said are sometimes very heavy emotions and all of that. I think, one of the things that I hear from families at times when I'm seeing them for a consultation, I'll ask them, has your child ever done any therapy before?
Mhm.
Unfortunately, sometimes some parents are like, well, all he was doing was playing. And sometimes that, that misconception, can you maybe go into that a little bit more and why it can be seen as that?
Well, sure. Like I said, it's the toys are there, but it's really about that relationship and how I respond to the child who is playing.
Hmm.
And we reflect feelings, we track what they're doing. We really put that um, relationship front and center and in the present. And by reflecting the feelings and modeling coping skills while they're playing, they can learn from what I'm doing and saying as they're going through these things and processing these traumatic events or
Yeah.
tough, difficult situations.
Yeah, yeah. So you are, in essence, sort of modeling that. And then are parents oftentimes sitting in and able to watch and hopefully pick up some of that as well?
At times, I definitely will have parents sit in, but what I like to do is parent consultation sessions
Yeah.
about every 3 to 4 sessions, and I'll review what we've gone over in the playroom and skills they can use at home.
Uh-huh.
Give them those practical things because parents are with their children 365 days a year.
Yes.
They've got that direct contact all the time. Whereas if I get to see a kid once a week, it's 52 times a year.
Uh-huh.
So the impact that I have, while it can be wonderful, the impact the parent has is really where the change is going to happen.
Right. Right. Yeah. And so, I mean, I think if people are watching this and they're like, well, how do I even go about finding a play therapist? Is there certain initials to be looking for at the end of people's names? Is like, how do I do this? So what tips do you have?
To find somebody registered in play therapy, it's going to be RPT or RPTS, which is registered play therapist or registered play therapist supervisor.
Okay.
And that says that that person has gone through specific training in play therapy, has had specific supervision in play therapy, and has accumulated a certain number of contact client hours. So they've
Okay.
gone through all these hoops. They're definitely an expert in play therapy at that point.
Okay, thank you for that. I don't think I recognized that's what RPT or
Mhm,
S stands
mhm,
for. Yeah, thank you. I learn something new every day. And then, so what should I or, parents
mhm.
expect when they're going to see a play therapist? I mean, is there a start and an end date or a certain amount of time? Like, how can I, as a behavioral pediatrician, when I prescribe or recommend incorporating play therapy, how can I help get parents to understand what it is and what to expect?
Sure. The initial intake, I prefer just to have the parents in the room because when you're talking about tough um, emotions and situations, and sometimes, unfortunately, poor behaviors, I don't want the child in the room. I want the parents to be able to be honest and not worried about what the child's hearing when they're
Mm-hmm.
when they're talking about those behaviors. So I like to meet with the parent or parents individually, um, and then kind of a more adult conversation to gather all that background history information. And of course, we get insurance information if your therapist is taking insurance and all that paperwork and stuff like that out of the way. And then I have that first meeting with the child. And again, I orient them to the playroom, let them know that in there they can play with just about anything they want to, that sometimes we'll have shared power, where I'll decide the activity, sometimes they'll get to decide the activity, and just kind of structure it that way. I don't put a lot of limits in that first session because I want the child to be able to be free and lead the play the way they need to.
Mhm, mhm. Now s so when you're working, like, with the littles or the
Mhm.
younger kids, how long is a typical session? And do you have different lengths of sessions based on age?
I do. For the littles, I do about 30 minutes. And like I said, especially for the ones that have a lot of anxiety, I will have the parents come into the playroom, at least for
Uh-huh.
the first couple, to get them comfortable, just to watch or to play.
Mhm.
I hope parents will engage in the play and then again incorporate these things in the home. And then, like I said previously, I'll meet with the kid 3 or 4 times, and then I'll have that parent consultation where we'll review our goals, our progress, what the parent's seeing at home versus what I'm seeing in the playroom. At times, I'll incorporate teachers into that as well, because again, the teachers see the kid 180 days during the year,
Mhm.
so they have a lot of influence into that child's life and change as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is so true. I love that you mentioned getting information not just from parents, but the other people that interact with that child.
Mhm.
Do you find yourself, sort of providing some recommendations for daycares or, schools should a child's behavior uh, become unmanageable or worrisome in those settings? And how can families sort of advocate for that help if they're working with a play therapist?
Yeah. When I consult with teachers and daycare centers, I will say these are some things you can try.
Hmm.
Or I've written like more formal letters for like IEP recommendations or 504 plans. Because I really believe it's a systems approach that's going to help this child the best.
Hmm.
And in addition, if we're all doing the same techniques, then it's easier for the child to learn those faster and be able to integrate them into their daily practice.
That's right. That's right. I love that. And I mean, you're speaking my speak. So I just, I love when I meet people like you who really share that same philosophy and are doing a lot of great work out there with the kids and really getting them help. Um, I'm going to just ask you because we're living in unprecedented times with COVID. Have you seen a real big spike and increase, and how is that translated? Just sort of not just in your community, but what you're hearing from families.
I have definitely seen an increase in anxiety referrals coming in the last year to 18 months.
Yeah.
Uh, Kids, I've got a couple that I can definitely think of that were almost afraid to go back to school, had that like paralyzing panic. Those are the extremes, but even low levels of anxiety throughout the day is becoming very commonplace for kids.
Hmm. Yeah. And in terms of uh, finding a play therapist, do you just recommend that parents just is there a way to find folks in their community?
There is a directory on the Association for Play Therapy website.
Okay.
That's a4pt.org, and
Okay.
there's a big button that just says find a play therapist, and you can check there, and you can do it by city, you can do it by state.
Oh, great. So, and again, if you can repeat that one more time so I can include
A,
that.
the number 4,
Mhm.
pt.org.
Oh, perfect. Okay. I will make sure to include that link in the show notes so that
Mhm.
people can easily find that. And then you mentioned too, sometimes I'm assuming just like with other mental health providers, some therapists are taking insurance, some aren't. Those are some of the things that just we have to navigate through.
And most therapists will do like a 15-minute phone consultation just to get some of those questions answered and make sure that it's going to be a fit.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, fit. How do you know? Do you
I
have your own?
like I make sure that again the parents are willing to be involved,
Uh-huh.
that they're willing to take recommendations. Some therapists don't involve the parents as much. So I mean that's a key thing that I look for. If the child has or is having behaviors or has a disorder that I'm not familiar with, then
Mhm.
I would not be a good fit. I
Right.
don't want to, work with a kid that I don't feel that I can help.
Yeah.
And
No,
everyone
and
has their own specialties.
that's right. That's right. And I love that, if you're able to do that screening initial call to assess some of those things. So that way, if it is a good fit, then you guys can just get right down to business and start
Right.
work. Yeah. So, Kim, thank you so much. I mean, is there anything else that you want to leave the viewers with? I know that I was going to ask you if how people can find you, especially if you're local in Iowa, right?
For sure. My website is butterflybeginningscounseling.com
Uh-huh.
and /coping. There you can find my free guide, 6 ways parents help kids cope with big emotions.
Oh.
And those are practical tips that you can incorporate in your home to work with kids that are struggling with anxiety, sadness, anger, worry, any of those big, complicated emotions that kids have difficulty coping with.
Yeah, no, thank you. So what you're saying is that anybody, even outside of Iowa, can go to your website and get that information.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Awesome. So, I just really love the fact that you do the work that you're doing. I hope that people watching this got some real value in understanding what is play therapy and its role, and, what it is and what it isn't, and then learning some really good tips and ways to frame things so that way when they're preparing for a visit or looking for someone, thank you for that website.
Mhm.
Um, and for and giving us your website too. But I,
Sure.
I hope that this is helpful for everybody who's viewing this. So anything else that you'd like to share before we end the episode?
I just want to say everybody goes through crises and mental health challenges, including our kiddos.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to reach out for help. It doesn't mean you're a bad parent. It doesn't mean you did something wrong. If you just need a little bit of extra support and help along the way, it's okay. It's okay to ask for help.
Oh, that's such a great message and so needed right now. I think, sometimes we're just sort of doggy paddling right
Mhm.
now for some of us, just trying to get through. But, giving us permission and really, just saying, if you need help, it's okay. It's all right. We all do from time to time. It takes a village, right? So,
Absolutely.
yeah. Well, thank you so much, Kim. And so, for those of you watching and who regularly tune in, yes, there will be an episode on Thanksgiving. It was pre recorded as well. And so that is going to be with Dr. Sarah Honaker, a personal friend of mine who I used to work with at Indiana University. She's a sleep psychologist and a researcher. We're going to be talking about common behavioral interventions for kids in sleep because, if kids aren't sleeping, nobody's sleeping. So tune into that after you have your turkey with your family and loved ones. And then please make sure if there are special topics or guests that you want to hear about that we haven't yet talked about, please just drop me a line at Dr. Narissa at letstalkkidshealth.org. And then follow me on YouTube as well as Facebook and Instagram. Drop me a message, a DM, whatever, and comment below. I'll be searching for those. I'm always looking for new ideas and other people to come on and bring on the show. And then also, I just want to put in a plug, even though it is kind of mid November, there's still time to pick up our book club pick, Driven to Distraction by Dr. Edward Hallowell. This I thought was a very good read. And as you know, I've started doing book club chats with the author, and Dr. Hallowell has graciously agreed to come in mid December to talk about the book with all of you readers. So I hope you'll join us. So thank you again, Kim. This was such a great episode. I really appreciate you taking time to do the work that you're doing and to share your passion for helping kids so that hopefully people who are watching this will be like, yes, okay, now I know what to do and feel really empowered to go and find someone like you to help their kids if they find that they're struggling.
Thank you.
Thank you.